Welcome to the June 4th Planning and Public Works Committee meeting. I would like to call on our Vice Chair for approval of last month's meeting minutes.
Chairman Cush, I've reviewed those minutes and find them in order and move for their approval.
Thank you. And we have a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. That minutes will be sent to the archives. Becky, I don't know that there's any need for a roll call, is there? We know who's here and who's not. We have two absent. All right. I am going to move the Highway Department report to the front since that will be a quick report, and I will not have Mary suffer through the program. So, Mary, if you would like to go ahead and present.
All right, thank you very much. Real quick, we just have a simple speed limit request. It's for Murfreesboro Street. Murfreesboro Street got divided by John Bragg Highway, so there's a short section that the Sheriff's Department recommended 25 miles per hour on. And then the south side, starting at John Bragg going to a dead end, they've recommended 30 miles per hour. And you'll notice the little email from the Sheriff's Department with that suggestion. And this was unanimously approved yesterday morning at our road board meeting.
All right.
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion. Need a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, there's no opposed. That passes. Mary, what else do you have?
This is all I have for tonight, sirs. Is there any questions for
Aren't
me?
you so glad we did to the front?
And I do appreciate being moved. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Tanya, how many? Do you have a normal report?
I do. I just have my monthly report.
All right. Will you go fast?
Organized here. I wasn't prepared for this.
Well, I can always make you sit back too fast.
No. We're good. You're good. I can get ready. All right. So the month of May was fairly busy for building codes. We had a total of 358 permits issued this month, with 68 of those being single-family dwellings. We had a total of 946 electrical permits also issued. 1,518 total inspections done with 9,096 miles driven. Zoning enforcement, we had 250 inspections for the month of May.
Okay. So all those numbers seem to be up a little bit from this
They
time
are.
last year. So growth is still increasing.
We are still seeing it coming right along, yep.
All right.
And if you have no questions, I'll move on to development tax.
Let's go ahead and have a motion to approve that particular report.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. Tanya, continue on.
We have collected a total of $1,348,500 in development tax this month. The majority of that came from the city of Murfreesboro. They have a 359-unit apartment complex going in on Memorial Boulevard, and some townhomes that were permitted, and also an extended stay hotel unit.
This may be a question for you and Doug. Doug, are the apartment complexes beginning to slow in terms of people turning in plans? And
Well,
you really don't see
those.
We don't see them in the county, and that would be unusual, really, for the
Well,
county.
we collect development tax on them, and not really.
No, they're still.
No, we're still seeing about half a dozen a year,
Okay.
and I've seen that for the last few years.
All right. All right. Any questions on that development tax portion?
Do you collect the same amount on an apartment that you do a house?
We do.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
It's
have
a flat fee.
It's flat. Do you have an average square footage of an apartment that normally?
The average square footage, we did research this a little bit about a year and a half ago. The average square footage of an apartment is about 1,000 square feet, 1,100. The average square foot of a home, a single-family dwelling, went from, in 1995 when the development tax was first established, it went from about 1,700 square feet to currently it's about 2,700 square feet for the average single-family dwelling.
Wow. And if, Commissioner Piercy, are you asking that question in terms of the property tax that we're getting ready to
No, I'm just being
discuss?
nosy.
Okay.
Of course I am.
Well, yeah. A lot of people think that apartment dwellers don't pay property tax, which is absolutely false.
Well, they pay
do.
development tax.
Well, true, but on the property tax side, they do. It's in the form of their monthly payment. Because all property owners are taxed on the apartments that they own, and they pay that tax, and that tax is passed on to the tenants.
Renter.
Yeah, so for all those out there that think that apartment dwellers do not pay a property tax, they do. It's just in the form of a higher rent every month, so.
But you can look at those numbers and tell it's not an equal.
Right, right, but they do pay some. All right, Tanya, please continue.
That does it. If you guys don't have any more questions.
All right,
Motion to approve.
so, yeah, we need a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, Tanya, thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Have a good evening.
Doug,
Sir,
how about you?
I can go as quick as you want me to.
All right.
Or not at all.
Good evening, Mayor Ketchum and Commissioners. Hope everyone's doing well today.
Yes, sir.
Everybody in the room. Just have a couple of reports for you today, and then we have a budget amendment, but these should all go pretty straight. These are all pretty straightforward. Our available lot inventory, you'll see on the report. I think it's 8 pages long total, but you'll see on page 5 of 5, you'll see our total available lot inventory went up to 877. That's up about 60 or so, 50, 60 lots from last month. We had about 3 larger plats we recorded this past month. So obviously as building permits are issued for those, that number will fluctuate downward a little bit. But we have seen these last probably 6 months to a year or so. You know, we had talked for years after the recession, we saw pretty much a straight downward trend. Then it kind of leveled off for a little while. We're starting to kind of see it trend back up a little bit. So, I mean, permits are still strong, and there's still a lot out there. And obviously, we have a lot of plats in the pipeline, as you can see from the second report. But that is just something that we'll keep an eye on. I mean, there's not a whole lot we can do about it, but that's just something that I've noticed over the last several months. The trend seems to be kind of trending upward a little bit, so just for your information. We have 2, if there's no questions on that, we have 2 rezoning cases that will be brought up to the County Commission next month. The first is for property located along Old Nashville Highway. The applicant's proposing to zone approximately 17 acres of the property along Old Nashville Highway to commercial neighborhood, which allows a mixture of single-family, multifamily units, or even small businesses. The remainder of the property, about 20 acres, the applicant was asking for light industrial to allow stockpiling of dirt, building materials, things like that, and a structure for building maintenance and storage of vehicles. After the Planning Commission's public hearing, there were some people there that did have some concerns about increased traffic along Old Nashville Highway and drainage concerns. There was also some concern about the light industrial portion of the request. The Planning Commission did ask about the range of uses in light industrial as opposed to, say, some of the commercial zones, particularly commercial general. There was also discussion about access to city sewer, buffering for landscaping and whatnot, floodplain issues, development potential, those kind of things. Following discussion, the Planning Commission recommended commercial neighborhood for what he was already asking for, but instead of light industrial, he asked for, the Planning Commission, recommended commercial general, which is kind of the step down from light industrial. It's the most intense of the 3 commercial classifications, but doesn't allow any industrial type activities. The applicant was present at the meeting and said he was okay with that. So that's the recommendation that's going forward from the Planning Commission to the Board of Commissioners next week, and that was favorably approved by the Commission. The second property is along Midland, sorry.
Rock Springs, Midland.
Rock Springs, Midland Road. I always want to say Fosterville, Midland, Fosterville, but that's not right. Rock Springs, Midland Road. The applicant's proposing to zone the subject property to establish a base of operations for a landscaping company. The applicant purchased the property but didn't realize zoning approval was necessary for his business, so that's what he's asking for at this point. Landscape companies are typically, or they're classified as construction, sales, and services under the zoning ordinance. Commercial services is the first commercial zone that does allow that, so this is the first of the 3 commercial zones that would allow that particular use. The applicant did include a rough concept plan showing his intentions with the application. You'll see that he provided information about the equipment that's stored there, hours of operation, those kind of things. Most of the discussion at the Planning Commission, there were some folks that did show up that had some concerns about making this a commercial piece of property. The applicant originally, when he came in, was only looking at a portion of the property, but after discussion with him, we just said, why don't you just go ahead and ask for the whole thing, and then it can be scaled back if necessary. After discussion at the Planning Commission, that's what was decided, that they would allow for commercial services zoning for a portion of the property. And if you look at the map, it would be kind of that skinny portion, kind of comes down skinny and it's wider in the back. It would be mostly for that skinny portion up front. Further conversation with the applicant indicated that probably would be the best break point, would be where that skinny portion ends, where it widens out in the back. So that's where he's drawn up a legal description showing that. So that did also receive approval by the Planning Commission, just again for that skinnier portion of the property along Rock Springs Midland Road. So those are the 2 zoning requests we have for next week's meeting, so I'll be happy to answer any questions.
What is next door to the skinny part
On
in the state?
the west side or the east side? The left or the right, if you're looking at the left? That's that's something actually that came out at the meeting. Our codes department's been starting to look into that, because it looks like from the aerial photography, there's a lot of, it's not a commercially zoned piece of property.
Oh, it's not?
No, sir, it's
Oh,
not.
okay.
So,
Yeah, we noticed the same thing on the
Okay.
side.
yes, and it was brought up at the.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
There'll be some investigating going on. Yes.
Okay.
Do you want me to do the budget amendment now? or-
We'll go ahead and vote on your report. Need a motion to accept. So moved. And a second. All right, all those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Okay, and just a quick budget amendment. We had budgeted $7,500 in gasoline money for our inspection vehicles and for the vehicles that Mike and I drive. We actually added a little bit of money. We were able to do administratively a few months ago, adding what we thought was going to be enough money to cover us the rest of the year, but it looks like we're going to be a little bit short to cover this month. We're fine right now. We haven't gone over any allotment or anything, but we know that we're not going to be able to maintain that this month. So I talked with Ms. Nolan about this, and there is a miscellaneous fund for gasoline money, and she said just ask for a $500. Well, she said just ask for that. We did the math, and $500 should cover us for the remainder of the year, basically this month. So with that, we're just asking for your approval to add just a little bit of money to our gasoline line item.
Motion to approve.
All right, need a second?
Second.
Need a roll call. All right.
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Cush?
Yes. Doug, thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, sure. All right, that should bring us to yes, that should bring us back to now our landfill reporting. All right. Mr. Mayor, do you have a preference as to, you want to have the Yanis group begin, or do you want to get the reporting out of the way? Okay. Max says let Yanis.
I'd rather y'all be tired. I get what I want.
Okay. All right. Wear us down.
I didn't know how hungry Mac was, so.
All right.
So
Then
that'll be fine.
what we'll do, and I'll let the mayor introduce this group. We'll have this presentation by the Yanis group. We'll have our normal landfill report, and Max 2 other reports, and then we have composting report done by Commissioner Craig Harris, and I'll explain that when we come to that point. So, Mr. Mayor, if you'd like to take it away and introduce.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Our visitors.
Members of the committee, Pianist Group is here to, Pianist Development Group out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Along, it's Keston White Ari, right? And Christopher Jordan from Murfreesboro. Some of you may know
Gregory Lyles.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Lyles, Gregory Lyles.
Greg Lyles. I just mentioned his name a few minutes ago. Some of you know Greg Lyles. Greg's been kind of a stalwart, I think, in the community here in Rutherford County for a long number of years. Was a principal at Case and Lane and in education for a long period of time. And I think you're the nephew.
Nephew.
Right. Okay. So they approached the mayor's office back sometime in the fall, and they said that they wanted to come before this committee and make a presentation on a gasification process. Since we're dealing with solid waste, they think that they have the answer of direction that the county should go. So I'll turn it over without further ado to Mr. Moran and Mr. Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you all for being here. I want to introduce myself. My name is Keston White Marin. I'm the managing member of the Untitled Development Group. And who are we? We are basically, giving you some more background on myself. Forgive me if my back is turned to you. I'll try to work the room. Start off as a money manager in South Florida with a...
You may want to talk to these guys because they're the ones that...
I started off as a money manager in South Florida, and I have a focus on energy. Why? Because I understand that the world needs more energy, and at the same time we have a waste problem. So I've actually surrounded myself with technology partners, but also with funding partners domestically and internationally to bring solutions not only here to the United States, but also to other places in the world. So that basically brings us to this solution, which I am happy to bring about. So it's a PowerPoint. There we go. So like I was saying before, I'm part of a consortium of technology partners, from incineration to gasification to plasma art, you name it. We have reviewed it all. We also, most importantly, we have the funders that are willing to participate specifically in the space of energy production. So coming to Rutherford County through Mr. Jordan, Dr. Jordan, I was informed that you guys have a situation dealing with your landfills. So they're doing some preliminary research, so please forgive me if my numbers are a little off, but I understand that the landfill for Rutherford County is currently the quasi shut down. We have some issues dealing with leachate and also some other potential pollution going into the water stream. And then we have the Middle Point Behemoth partnering up with Republic that actually continue to grow and grow and grow. But unfortunately, landfill as the traditional form is not sustainable, for lack of a better term. We have to find different ways to treat our waste. As we know already, we're already dealing with issues where we cannot even send our plastics to China and other places in Asia because they don't want it anymore. They're inundated with waste. We have waste in our oceans. So how can we solve this problem? Now, just dealing specifically in the county, this is going to continue to grow. Population continues to grow. What happens if you have to close the Rutherford County landfill, also with the Middle Points? If the EPA gets involved, what do we do? And also, if you close the landfill, I do understand as well there's revenue to be had by helping the other counties to dump their waste here. You're going to lose that revenue. Where will the waste go? Now we have to figure that out. Now, regardless, it's going to cost something. At the same time, if we don't do anything, that's probably even more detrimental. Now, when we're trying to address waste management, we tend to focus on the hierarchy of waste management. So we start talking about recycle and reduce, reuse, recycle. That's part of educating your population on what they should do with their waste to make sure that less trash goes into the landfill. Then we have to probably consider composting. But there's a few shortfalls, and I also say this, there's no one answer to dealing with waste management because of the fact that you need a combination of all these different things because it's multifaceted, i.e., in recycling plastics, not all plastics are recyclable. Composting only deals with organic matter, so therefore it happens to the hazardous material, the hazardous waste. What do we do with that? Unfortunately, it goes right into the landfill. Then we have potential years of issues. I'm sure everybody's familiar maybe with the Superfunds, with the EPA, where they're managing hundreds of landfills throughout the country for potential pollutant, for potentially and actually are polluting the local environment. Now, what I was also informed about, there were some solutions that were presented a while ago by a consultancy firm to what you guys can do to solve your problem. A was to sell the land to Republic, probably make the mountain grow a little bigger. It was also to create 2 transfer stations to now consider transferring the waste somewhere else, make it somebody else's problem. Nonetheless, it's still all of our problem because we all going to share the United States in some way, some form. Or to create a waste management facility. But unfortunately, even that might be the best option, it's actually the most expensive for reasons we know why. And also the cost of doing nothing, that's absurd. Because there's also the other effects besides money, the health effects that will actually cost the people of this beautiful county. So the solution for shortfalls are the trash will continue to build up, the mountain of trash still remains, and still we have to address the potential contaminants in the landfill, potential EPA involvement, that doesn't always get pretty, the cost burden, but actually regardless if the landfill shuts down, you have to divert the trash somewhere else, it's going to cost you more money, ultimately resulting in raising taxes on your citizens. So now what we're trying to propose here is a win-win-win solution. It's not just for the private group, the consortium, it's also definitely for first and foremost the citizens and also for the county as well. So we try to figure out how can we all participate in a better future. So we're talking about not raising taxes, reducing the waste, cleaner environment, and more revenue for the county. I'll explain more. So the first and foremost is identifying the method. Why gasification? Gasification actually breaks down the molecules of the waste and actually takes out all of the potential energy that's actually tossed into the landfill. In my opinion, that's a gold mine sitting there. Now, we probably see it as a nuisance because we haven't really learned how to tap into the resources. It's basically like gold, or better yet, another equivalent, oil. Because like I said, there's so much resources in landfill that we have not been able to tap until, or properly tap into because of gasification. Now understand one thing, gasification is not incineration, not burning it. Because when you burn, you also release other gases, carbon dioxide, and to name a few, that actually now create air pollution and so forth. Gasification does not do that at all to the environment. At the same time, you also create other revenue streams in terms of converting the waste into electricity, converting the waste into biofuels, and also ceramic ash that's going to be produced, which is not toxic whatsoever, which also could be sold to the textile industry to build roads and cement and so forth and so on. So I would like to introduce to you the platform I've selected for this particular venture, which is called the Tesla Green Black Hole. Why the Tesla Green Black Hole? First and foremost, it's EPA approved, one of the first of its kind. It's a newer technology, doesn't mean that it has not been proven. It actually has been installed for many years throughout the world. Why not the United States? Well, it actually has been installed in the United States because the company is located in the United States. It's just, once again, gasification comes at a pretty cost. At the same time, it is not widely understood. So therefore, most people don't even go to towards this solution. But this particular platform allows you to do so much, basically dump everything you have into that technology. And it also produces, like I said, electricity, biodiesel, and also ceramic ash, which all could be sold. Some features of the technology. Sorry, technical problems. So now, it's self-powered. There's no additional fuels needed to generate or even to keep the machine running. Once it's turned on, it stays on, and it's self-containing. It comes in many different formats. It comes from as low as 2 tons to 1,000 tons. The solution that we're providing or presenting here today is a 3,000-ton solution. Now, basically, all it is three 1,000-ton machines daisy-chained together. It operates around 850 degrees Celsius at optimum temperature, and it processes everything with the exception of glass, ceramic, and metals. Doesn't mean you can't run it through, because when you have a paint can that has hazardous material, you run it in the machine to, once again, cleanse it and detoxify that particular metal, and also we can now recycle it once it's completed. The technology is actually also patented in 151 countries. Again, it's 100% non-toxic. It's actually mobile. When we're thinking about a plant, don't think about these huge behemoth plants as the park is 100 acres. No, this is actually a standalone machine that could be now dropped in, and if need be, we could also transport it somewhere else if we have to do that. It's very low cost to operate, because once it's on, it's on. And also reduces everything at a ratio of 1 to 200 to 300. So therefore, you get maybe one particle in terms of, out of every 300 tons, you get 1 ton of actual waste, ceramic ash, more or less. And another thing about this type of technology is very sensitive. Most waste energy platforms are very sensitive to moisture. This one has a very high tolerance for moisture, because, like I say, you're not burning it. And it's very efficient at the point where you can have 60% moisture, and it does not affect the efficiency of the machine. So as you guys may have your winter season, when it snows, the trash gets wet, it's all okay. Just dump it in regardless. Again, do not confuse it with incineration. And this is kind of a laundry list of all the different parameters that it does not compare. As I shared with you before, it is located in many different places throughout the world, to include our backyard here in Pennsylvania. It's actually more so adopted in India. If you guys know about the Indian trash issues, it's ridiculous. It's definitely far worse than we have here in the United States. So therefore, they have kind of been on the tip of the spear in adopting this type of technology. As you can see, it has multiple applications in India. And as of right now, there's actually, you could easily just Google it, they actually have one of these platforms used to treat a remote landfill in India. This is what the larger unit looks like. Now, this is a basic process. You dump the trash from plastics, tires, we love tires by the way, from paper, you name it, e-waste, medical waste, dump it all into the platform, and it decomposes in the chambers. And upon coming out, the output will be ceramic ash. You have the sludge, which could be refined into biodiesel, and also you could utilize that to create other fertilizers and other fuels. I'd like to give you a brief video of how this technology works.
Tesla Green Incorporated is focused on providing solutions for waste management, waste disposal, and waste recycling, and reducing landfill use in an environmentally friendly manner. The black hole is able to handle all types of waste, such as municipal waste, industry waste, agricultural waste, medical waste, hazardous waste, e-waste, and wasted tire. The black hole is able to treat all types of waste except ceramics and glass. Using PLC automated feeding system, waste does not need to be segregated prior to feeding into the system. Via our patented programmed oxygenation system, the black hole creates a low heat plasma in the chamber using a flameless technology, which generates a temperature up to 1,000 plus degrees Celsius from a single ignition. Because of the controlled flow of oxygen into the chamber, any nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, dioxins, and furans are eliminated. Any further emission that is created is treated further via spray packing chamber, where using a patented spraying mechanism eliminates all harmful emission. The output gas is then further treated via activated carbon coal. The end result is a clean air which has been tested and verified by numerous environmental organizations. There are three main byproducts of the black hole. The ceramic ash can be used to make bricks that are extremely high on their tensile and adhesive strength. With the help of Tesla's green proprietary gold-bound cement recipe and tool, the ceramic ash can be used to produce very high-quality cement at 1/4 the price of existing Portland cement. From the sludge, we can generate biodiesel with the help of our in-house biodiesel reactor capsule, which is again completely customizable and does not require any additional space. The sludge can also be processed for making lubricating oil for the automobile industry. Electricity. In La Tierra Energy, we replace the entire insulation with our thermal rock sheets to generate up to 4 to 5 megawatts per hour electricity, depending upon the capacity of the black hole. No additional space is required to generate La Tierra energy from the black hole. The electricity generation can be completely customized to the requirements for any particular operation with the help of our other proprietary generator, Boson Energy. The black hole is the future to waste disposal, providing an end-to-end solution that benefits all parties.
There's one more video I'd like you to see.
Today,
features
handling solid waste
where
is
the
a
actual
challenge, not
technology
only
is
for
also being
urban
used in
areas,
India.
but also rural areas too need an efficient, commercially viable, and eco-friendly permanent solution. Tesla Green's black hole offers the most affordable, state-of-the-art technology to dispose the waste in an eco-friendly manner. Tesla Green, a US-based company, is in a mission to change the concepts of waste disposal system globally by providing the black hole waste disposal system, which is patented in the US and 33 other countries. The technological advantage of this machine is that it does not require any input energy source like fuel, electricity, to manage the waste. Any accessories like conveyor belts and any other automations and customizations can also be run without any external energy source. The black hole can be built in either mild steel or stainless steel. Black hole comes with different variants based on material, features, and capacity. The machine is very compact and regular maintenance-free, irrespective of any weather conditions. The capacity of the machine ranges from 1 ton a day to 10 tons a day, with at most automation and a wet scrubber. The capacity of the machine can be increased by connecting one or more machines in series and decompose large volume of waste. Black hole consists of various inlets and outlets. The machine needs to be started by igniting the waste in the ignition chamber. Once the ignition chamber is closed, we need to dump the waste in from the top inlet feeding chamber, and waste decomposition occurs 24 hours and 365 days without repeating the ignition process. Once the waste is dumped, the magnetic valves are released. Hence, atmospheric oxygen is let inside the machine through the magnetic alignment. By this process, the inner chamber will be operating at 350 to 700 degrees centigrade and will achieve a state of ionization, plasma, and thermal vibration. At its full capacity, which is attained after approximately 72 hours of working, the inside temperature is 1000 plus degrees centigrade. A minimum of 800 degrees centigrade of temperature is maintained at all times to manage any hazardous and medical waste. The feed capacity is 2 cubic meter, and time taken for decomposition is 4 hours per feed. At its full capacity, that is, after 72 hours of running the machine, can be fed every 2 to 3 hours, adding up to approximately 5 to 6 tons of waste in a 1 ton capacity black hole. Even though no segregation is required, certain metals, glass, and ceramics are not processed by black hole, but it sensitizes these unprocessed articles to be able to be reused as required. The output ash and oil is collected from the ash chamber, and quantity of output ash will be in the ration, 1/300 to the input waste. The ash can be reused in construction and building sector. The oil can be processed for reuse as well. The machine is 100% emission-free. The dioxins, fluorons, parabens, and all other gaseous products are disassociated within the chamber and converted to ionized oxygen, which in turn maintains low plasmic heat. Any remaining gaseous emissions from the machine are passed through customized 3-stage wet scrubber. The wet scrubber makes the output gaseous emission from the chimney to be smokeless, odorless, 100% non-toxic, and EPA regulated. This machine can be used by landfills, municipal corporations, hospitals, commercial complexes, industrial and tech parks, and education institutions.
So
We have been using the black hole by Tesla Green for the last 3 years. The black hole is environmentally friendly and helps reduce air, ground, water and soil pollution by reducing waste being transported to landfills. We are grateful to our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji for starting this Swachh Bharat movement, and we are honored to be contributing towards his dream.
Black hole can be used by any segment of the society and keep their surroundings clean. It's a revolution that will make the waste management problems extinct species.
So I'll give you a brief rundown on how the technology works. So the idea, once again, is 100% non-toxic, requires zero fuel to operate, operates 24/7, it handles all waste pretty much. We're proposing, like I said, 3,000 tons per day, which is basically means a daisy chaining 3,000 ton units. Why are we proposing 3,000 tons a day? Because it was brought to our attention that we were trying to address the issues of the county as far as their production, as far as waste, and also to remediate the landfill. By the way, this is not new technology. It's already been done in Europe. When I'm referring to new technology, I'm referring to landfill mining. There would be, I think there are like over 500,000 landfills in Europe right now that they have to get rid of some way, somehow, because regardless if you bury it, it's still going to continue to create problems later on. So they actually go back in the mines to go ahead and take out the old waste to treat it again. Okay, so that's what we're proposing as well for Rutherford County. And the most important part, we're proposing it to be fully funded. Now that's the key part, because everybody could come here to you and bring you technology, but the question is, who's going to pay for it? So we have a structure in which we like to discuss how we could have it paid for. Now this structure typically is not done on the municipal level because of the fact that other nations need these issues, so therefore it comes at a much higher level in terms of government, where they will give a sovereign guarantee to back or support or de-risk the funding of an infrastructure project. So we're actually proposing the same type of solution, but at a smaller scale. So first, we're talking about setting up a public-private partnership in the form of some type of special purpose vehicle. That's what SPV stands for. We discussed having more control with the county, but our funders did not want to have the county and the bureaucracy of government to be challenge the operation of the project. But we did also, they did mention that we could also put in provisions in place to protect the county, so therefore you won't run into the issue that you ran into with other parties, not to name any names, to where abuse will occur. We were talking about having an initial collateral of around $50 million to get the funding process started. What we did not discuss is what method that collateral will be presented. It could be cash, it could be bonds, it could be asset-backed, being land guarantee issued by a local bank. I've actually had preliminary conversations with First Tennessee Bank that's willing to participate in this funding. By the way, the funders do come from UK. We're talking about large funds that are looking to invest internationally, specifically in energy. And obviously, we have to secure off-taker agreements. Off-takers being to take care of the electricity that's going to be generated, and also to buy the slag, the biodiesel, and the ceramic ash. Most importantly, it will be the utility company that we have to engage. But basically, that's the structure in which we are proposing. And this is more or less how it will look Here's my slide. Well, actually, this is some of the terms that we have negotiated. By the way, for those of you who have the printouts, in there's a cost analysis of what we propose the technology will cost, the whole solution. And we're talking about around $400 million. I was able to preliminary get up to $500 million approved. Again, 100% financed. We preliminarily discussed a 17-year repayment schedule. 2 years being no payments because we'll be in the construction and beginning phase, and also 15 years of repayment. My actual projections on that document was actually for 10 years, and it can be done. So therefore, they gave me a longer window to repay. Interest rates relatively low. Why? Because it's in the back of partnership with the county. The county provides the collateral. Therefore, they're willing to do between 2.5 to 7.5% annually. And after the initial collateral is being presented by the county, they will release the collateral unencumbered upon the completion of the whole transaction. So therefore, like I said, it does come 100% financed. And it is the project's responsibility and full responsibility to repay the loan, not the county. And this is more or less the structure. The partners involved, being my consortium, and also Straightway Enterprises for doing such a great job in bringing us here to the table, along with the county, and also my lenders / investors will be a part of this. I'm sorry for the editing differences because of the format. But anyways, the project SPV, and obviously this SPV will be the entity that collaborates with the EPC firm, which is the engineering, procurement, and construction firm, and also operation and management, which include Tesla Green and other partners. We also, that's where the collateral will be committed to this SPV, and also we have to engage with the off-takers to secure that revenue stream. The benefits, a large amount of money could be raised and could be mobilized for the project under this structure. The county will not have to pay dollar for the plant because that was the main issue. Who's going to pay for it? So therefore, representing the technology and also the platform and also the funding source to get it done. The only reason I couldn't bring that document to demonstrate that was we had not established what type of collateral we're going to use, because each type of collateral requires separate instructions. Also the collaboration of First Tennessee Bank. The county will be assisted in actually getting a complete solution, and the county also shares in the profits. So therefore, I'm going to also show you an example later on what the profits could look like, whereas the standard current model of landfilling versus a new model in terms of revenue from electricity, biodiesel, and also this ceramic ash. So these are the assumptions. I'm just using 1,000 tons at $125 million cost. We're producing 25 megawatts per hour at a potentially contractual rate of 15 cents per kilowatt hour. Biodiesel, this one will be produced daily at $1 a gallon. Ceramic ash, 77 tons per day at $14 per ton. And operating costs around 30% of revenue. So after you deduct all of these things, well, you add up these revenues, and also you deduct the operating costs, the entity will be partnering and sharing in $27 million. And that's untapped revenue simply because we're dumping rather than exploiting the waste, the energy, the resources in the landfill. So I want you to actually look at the landfill from a different standpoint, not a liability, but an asset. And to really get this process going, all we have to do is engage in the MOU. So therefore, we can have all the preliminary documents put in place in terms of funding, and also the commitment from the technology partners. And also, this just includes the partnership with the bank. I laid it out here in your document on the last page. It's a bit more in depth, but even though it's a 9-step process, please do not think it's not easy. The problem is just also having to make sure we have the commitment of the county to have someone that's involved that works hand in hand with me to also make sure we structure everything correctly. Because it has to be precisely to the T. But that's basically my presentation, Mr. Mayor, and to the chairman of the committee and the commissioners. And hopefully this resonated well with you guys, and we'd love to be able to assist you and also help the county take care of the landfill problem. Thank you all.
Are you open for some questions?
Absolutely.
All right. I'll jump in. The county involvement, I guess, would you be looking for us for land as well?
It can be land. It doesn't have to be cash. And let me also say to you this way: what we originally spoke about was $15 million in cost. The most cost-effective way for the county to do it will be to commit the land to the bank. Let's just say $50 million worth of land. The bank issues a bank guarantee against that land, and that's what the lender will hold as collateral. So therefore, the only cost to the county will be the cost to get the bank to issue that instrument.
All right. Coupled with that, then there would need to be some infrastructure
Correct.
together to
Correct.
to get to the plant.
Correct.
Power,
Correct.
water, etc.
That's
Would
why
that be part of the $50 million package?
No, that's not necessarily,
That would be
because
in addition.
the $500 million package will take care of all of that. $400 million is for the actual technology, and I did have a buffer of $100 million for the purpose of developing infrastructure, maybe interconnectivity with the power supply, the closest substation, things of that nature.
Okay. Last part of that county portion.
And just to make sure I answer your question thoroughly,
Yeah.
that money you're not using that money, you're not using that asset. It's to be held as collateral. So therefore, think about it like this: you're putting an earnest money deposit.
Right.
So the lender's going to lend and give according to that to make sure they're always protected. But as they invest into the project, they're going to now switch this asset to the collateral being the asset that we're building.
Yeah.
And upon the transaction being completed, they'll give the county back the collateral which you committed initially.
What about, would you be searching, or would part of the deal be a tax credit, tax break?
That's correct. We did negotiate that or discuss that previously. We would like to have that. I did not demonstrate that here because I wanted to show that the project will be profitable without the assistance of these incentives. But we would like to also pursue getting a tax credit of some
So
sort.
that would be part of the county's involvement, would be to come up with a dollar amount of
Correct.
tax credits.
Correct.
For you to get started.
Correct.
That would be above and beyond.
It won't necessarily be to get started. It would just be in addition to the whole package.
Would that be above and beyond our $50 million guarantee?
Correct.
Okay. All right. All right.
But we're open to see how any which way the dollar numbers, as long as it makes sense to both parties, we can make it work.
Okay. And are there any? Do you have this technology in the U.S. and other places?
Yes, we do. In Pennsylvania, they have 2 locations at transfer stations currently operational.
Are there any at such a scale that you're proposing here?
Not at such a scale, not here in the United States.
Okay.
They have larger facilities in India and also in Malaysia of around 1,000 tons. Right now, the technology part is actually trying to produce 10,000 tons per day unit because of demand. But at the same time, it has been tested and vetted, and like I said, we like to have to schedule a trip if need be.
Yeah. So the Malaysia is a 10,000 ton.
No, they're developing because
developing.
of such demand for the higher capacity.
So the black hole technology,
Correct.
or the Tesla.
Tesla Green.
What is the largest active tonnage
1,000.
facility you have?
1,000, correct.
Okay.
And like I said, they all work the same. Just now you just
link
daisy
them
chain
together.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. One thing that I see that could be a flag is as far as one of the byproducts being electricity.
Mm-hmm.
If you choose to have electricity be an end product, is, we sit here in the middle of TVA country,
Mm-hmm.
where electricity is fairly inexpensive. And I'm always concerned about trying to sell electricity back to the grid,
Mm-hmm.
because TVA would say,
Why?
why would we want your electricity? And
I can answer that for you.
yeah, that would be great.
I done did my research on TVA, been to TVA, and they got programs set up already to buy energy because that's what they want to do. So on another level, since Rutherford County somewhat is a rural area, they need that influx of monies to be able to handle USDA funding. So therefore, when the power company somewhat buys back the energy, then you get another flow of income to be able to build up the rural area. So they're willing, and the program's already in place, and I was happen to have an opportunity to help Williamson County with their power company to buy back energy, because this wasn't heard of. But now, since the movement through the administrations to make energy more profitable, then it's easy to be able to sync TVA with the local power company to make it happen. TVA got grants to be able to put the grid in to be able to have it on the grid.
Do they pay you? Are you upside? I just am wondering if you make money at it. Do you break even at it, or are you upside down in it?
But the infrastructure is not in place.
Yeah.
So with the Tesla black hole, with the 500 million, being able to put this infrastructure in place, then they understand that you got off-takers who will come in to be able to set up facilities to take up the energy.
Yeah.
You know, but in the same token, that's negotiation outside of the MOU, the memorandum of understanding.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
In addition to that, as population grows, there's more demand. As infrastructure requirements get restretched, basically you're building, you have more companies moving in, you're going to need more electricity. In addition to that, we mentioned in our meeting previously that once we have the power to generate, or the ability to generate that power, you have data centers that would love to plant a server database anywhere. Matter of fact, Google, Amazon already put out anything around 50 megawatts. They would love to come and put down their own data centers, because those things are very energy intensive. Yeah. Okay. So those we could actually attract customers for that.
Right. Besides electricity as an end product.
Mm-hmm. Well, we could fine tune the whole process to do oil as well. Semi-refined oil, where we're not competing directly with the big behemoths, where we actually sell the oil to them and they will finally do the end process. Or we could just continue to refine all the way down and distribute it to a wholesaler from here. So we also could do that as well. And we could also configure the technology to be in favor of one versus the other.
That kind of an add-on, if you chose to do oil, would that be an additional expense to that 400 million?
It's already bottled into that.
Okay.
So if we were to take something out, it would actually cost less.
You swap it out. Okay. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Marr, this structure here. When I was in the Senate, I carried legislation for P3, so I've got a pretty good understanding about public-private partnership. So explain to me in the committee on Ennis Development Group, if they're going to be my partner, how much are you putting in to the investment?
Well, we're bringing the funding. We're bringing the funding of the 500. And like I said, agreements with our
this
lender.
block over here?
That's combine those two. That's our share. Correct.
And so, do I just have a relationship with you, or can we find out who these people are? If I'm
Absolutely,
partners with them.
Absolutely, you will, Mayor. Yes, you will.
Okay. And how do I find out who they are?
Well,
I signed any.
You could even send out a letter of intent, just so you know we are formally engaged and we are entertaining this idea, this joint venture together, to demonstrate that we are engaging in talks. And upon demonstrating that, we could divulge all information that you require.
Then I would find out who
without a problem
was coming to the dance. Okay. Looking at the MOU, I see a lot of contracts. Okay. Up and down. Share with me on this number 1A, the document of the Republic of.
Well, this is a generic form that I just.
Sovereign capacity, that's kind of language, it's not.
Because typically, right,
Okay.
correct, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, for cutting you off, but the idea is that typically we do this on a higher level, as I shared with you earlier. We will have to water it down, and I can also have this tailored with the advice of my attorney to make it conducive to a county and municipal level. But typically, I just sent you this just to understand the general verbiage overall, because that would just be the county of Rutherford County versus the Republic of a nation, so to speak.
Okay.
How big is the Ennis Group?
How big is the Ennis Group, and what do you mean in terms of?
I mean, is this how many employees? Is this a international company with multiple offices and employees?
That's negative. It's basically myself and a few other partners. Okay. But we, like I said, everything we do is in partnership with everyone else that we work with, to include our technology partners and our funders.
Alright.
So there's no need for us to even have a major staff to do anything because of the fact that that's where we rely on our partners to bring in with their expertise.
All right, so like the Tesla black hole, like the technology, the equipment, let's talk about.
Correct.
Is that equipment and technology that Yanis owns?
Negative.
Or you just rep that product?
No, we are in partnership with Tesla Green Black Hole.
Okay.
So therefore, they will be a partner as part of this SPV in which we're referring to.
So are you a distributor for them?
Negative. I'm just more or less a liaison, for lack of a better term. Because like I said, I understand all parties on all factors. Unfortunately, technology guys don't understand the finance. Finance guys don't understand the technology.
Yeah.
So I'm in a unique position to where I can speak about both technology and the financing terms
Right.
to come to some type of agreement with the parties in which we're trying to work with.
Okay.
So that's how we work together.
I got you.
So that word say collateral is swifted to lender.
Right.
That's new technology for me. Or
New terminology.
What is swifted? Is that a patented?
No, SWIFT is just the communication between bank to bank. I forget. It's actually an acronym. Can't remember exactly what it stands for, but that's how banks talk to each other. So therefore, to say that everything is done at a high level, very secure between First Tennessee Bank and the bank of the lender to ensure that everybody's authentic, no criminal activity, the funds are all authenticated and everything. That's bank talk.
Bank transfer. I thought it was something.
Well, when you deal on an international level, Mayor, that's where everything is swifted. It's not necessarily a bank transfer.
Gotcha. All right.
I've got one real easy question.
Yes, sir.
Is this for today's trash, or can you help us with our landfill that's 30 to 40 years old?
Actually, this is for today and the landfill.
So
Because
you can transfer what's in our landfill into this?
that's correct. My current numbers shared, I was able to pull up was saying that Rutherford is producing around 300 tons per day. We propose 3,000 tons to the excess will be where we've actually taken trash out of the landfill and running it through the system to be processed.
Second part of my question, have you presented this to Waste Management or Republic
I have not.
to help them extend the life of their landfills?
I have not.
Why not?
Because those guys tend to have their own tricks and their own ponies, and they tend to be very close-knit and not be willing to new ideas.
Thank you.
Sir, I got a suggestion. With the Rutherford County side, with the 1 million tons of trash, we're going to try to take it down to a 0-0 landfill. Then we already have Republic as an intaker. So once we get the landfill down to a 0-0 landfill, we already have access to Republic trash. So having that authority at that junction, and they know they have to shut down and they have to constantly take it in. Once we got the technology in place and we take Rutherford County down to a 0-0 landfill, we become the intaker of their trash. So that's more of 29 million tons that can produce monies for the county and put in the coffers because it's already there and they know they got a problem. So basically, we got them in the headlock. So once we take it down to a 0-0 landfill, we got options to take the trash because they can't do anything with it. So it's a win-win situation.
You are a very strong organization to have a $13 billion corporation in a headlock.
Well, if they got a problem, it's just common sense. If they got a problem and if the county's got a solution and they want to buy the land from the county to be able to expand the situation, and the county got a solution in place to take their trash, it's common sense. Regardless of where they at, because y'all got the power, they want your land. Or they got to shut down, one of the two. And they constantly taking trash in from all the commercial, industrial, shipping it over here. So you got a constant intake of trash. When you got the solution in place, you got dollars coming out the trash.
And just to add to that, another issue, we understand why Blockbuster went out of business, right? Simply because they were a one-trick pony. This is how they do business, and this is how they want to do business. Now realizing change is on the horizon, hence we're now streaming. Blockbuster couldn't catch up. So unfortunately, what happens with these big Republic Waste Management, they do what they do best, which is landfilling. They actually add on some incineration to generate some electricity, or they use the methane gas out of the landfill to produce electricity. But a lot of times, what my experience has been, this is what they do, this is their format, this is their formula. If you're not talking about that, there's nothing else to talk about.
cleaned up.
We have a question for Commissioner Harris.
You said that if, I'm Commissioner Harris, she said it's a win-win, so if Republic doesn't have anywhere to take their trash, you're saying bring it to you, right?
Bring it to Rutherford County.
Okay, who gets it? So you're gonna charge a tipping fee for them to come here, right? Who gets, do we get part of that money?
What the structure, make it just plain and simple. Republic already doing what they're doing. We fair to agree. We agreeing that they're doing what they're doing. They already got agreements in place with Rutherford County already, correct? All right. So, say that, hypothetically speaking, that we even got Rutherford County side to a 0-0 landfill, and we need more trash. So the trash is already there. 29 million tons of trash is already there, and the problem is still rising because they pumping in 3,000 tons a day. So therefore, with the tipping fees and everything, they got to go back to the table and renegotiate with Rutherford County to be able to say, hey, we got to pay you, for the trash that y'all getting rid of that we bringing in. So that's another contract. Right now, we trying to solve the problem. We got the technology, got the money to solve the problem. It's a problem. Everybody knows it's a problem, 20, 30-year-old problem.
And let me also add, Mr. Commissioner, that everything operates under that SPV, that special, that PPP. So therefore, the county always participates in everything that this entity does. Like I said, providing the parameters in place because the other issue was we did not want autonomy to the point where the private partners will go ahead and do what other parties have done to you guys and bring in trash all over the region. Where with permission, like I said, where vetoing power would be allowed to the commission or the team that's representing Rutherford County to allow us to do these things. But the whole idea is everything that we do is going to be in a joint format. And I did not intentionally include a tipping fee to show, as I shared with you before, to show that my numbers are very conservative. Even the numbers I projected were not even operating on 24 hours a day for 365 days. I only operated for like 328 days. So those numbers were very conservative.
What would the tipping fee be?
Well, whatever the market demands, whatever you guys currently charge, is not for me to determine. So therefore, whatever it is, you have to be added, be extra bonus. Because our revenue is not dependent on the tipping fee, it's dependent on the other off-takers.
So the pay off the loan would be the sale of fuel and energy.
Correct. And the ceramic ash, correct.
So that's what's paying it all off in 15 years.
Correct.
Commissioner P., I believe you have a question.
Yeah, the acreage, how much land would it take, a footprint, to put this in place? And then two, what kind of smells are we getting, or aromas off of this facility in other places that you've already got set up? Or are you setting these up in, the pictures I was looking at look like it's in the middle of the city somewhere, and that's not going to go over too well with the smell. And so acreage and smell, two questions.
Well, I'll address your former question. Acreage is not a large footprint. What we projected here was 20 acres. That's including the infrastructure of roads, staging areas, simply because we only require about 2 to 3 acres for the actual facility. But obviously you're gonna need space for your trucks to maneuver and so forth. So we actually don't need a lot of infrastructure for this whole technology. As I was saying before, the old school, big, giant, 100-acre park is not required for this particular technology. And that's why I intentionally showed that video in the middle of the city. This is where we can actually do a zero land landfill. We can actually degrade the land, the trash at location versus having to haul it or bury it somewhere else. So therefore, it's on point destruction of your waste. And the smell is not, it's 100% toxic free, and we actually scrub the emissions to make sure it is pleasant to the community. That's why we can't put it in the middle of a city if we just so desired, or a transfer station. And that's why we have in Pennsylvania 2 locations where we actually have it being processing waste.
So how long is the land, the waste sitting there for, say it's dumped from a transfer truck?
Correct.
How long that's going to smell?
Well, that's going right into the facility, because, like I said, right now Rutherford County is producing 300 tons a day, and we have a capacity of 3,000. So no new trash is going to be producing any waste, any smells,
so
any
basically nothing's going to be sitting there.
As bad, I would say the smell as bad as a transfer station, and transfer station tends to be right in the middle of the city. You are.
So let me ask, if we're producing 300 tons a day, right? Just Rutherford County. And you're proposing 3 1,000 unit
Correct.
digesters. Is that the right term? Digester?
That's fine. That
Okay.
works.
Then we're talking more of a regional type?
As of right now, we're just focusing on the landfill. So we're talking about.
You're talking about our current daily intake plus harvesting our existing landfill.
Correct, because the idea was to remedy that situation to prevent any further pollution to your water supply.
Okay. All right.
One last question. What percent of the waste, I'm talking industrial waste, everything that's coming into this county, would have to be landfill? I mean, you're saying 100%.
What I'm saying
Somebody
is,
throws a load of bricks in the
it's the ash, the real byproduct that you get is the ash. So we cannot sell the ash to the road building industry or to a cement building industry. That's what will actually be going to the landfill at a ratio of 1 to 300. So for every 300 tons, you get 1 ton of ash. And the actual ash is not toxic. Whereas with incineration, you have fly ash and you have bottom ash. Bottom ash just has all the toxins in it versus the fly ash.
Well, that was my next question. What byproducts?
Right.
Were they toxic?
Right. No, they're not toxic. No, they're not. And they have been tested, and I could provide those results to the committee.
So
I've never heard of an option like this where 100% of everything is, so you're not having a landfill other than the ash.
Correct.
And then the ash that I've always heard of had some toxins in it.
Because you're burning it, right? And burning is old technology. It's no longer the best means of getting rid of it. It never was really the best means of getting rid of waste.
So organics, recycling, we still pull that out on the front
You sure
end.
can.
And metals, glass.
You sure can, but you don't have to. So,
but do you prefer that that's done?
If it has high value in terms of carbon, we would prefer to leave it in the system.
Okay.
So therefore, we could have more sludge and so forth, where we could turn those things into actual product.
Right.
But in terms of the metals, we cannot process metals. That would still be recycled glass.
Right.
Correct.
But okay.
Tires, we love tires, but most people cannot digest tires, so therefore, and unfortunately, we ship most of our tires to the Caribbean for them to burn for their fuel.
Yeah.
So we can actually process that in our platform, and also break it down into the basic structure, which is oil, petroleum, and now refine that and sell it.
So construction and demolition waste,
all of it works.
You take it.
Correct.
You
that turns into your ceramic ash.
You grind it up first into smaller bits and then put it in the digester. All right.
Yes, sir.
So you would encourage us to continue to look at, you said you don't have to, but I'm asking this anyway. To perhaps pull organics out of the
We could actually do that as a front loader to this platform, so we could also include it as part of the solution. Because I also included in here in the proposal in the cost a shredder, so therefore we could actually have a separator to pull out the organics, dry the organics, and turn that into fertilizer or other products that we could also utilize and sell.
So plastics that have value, we certainly would pull out.
Correct.
Contaminated plastics or plastics that have zero value in today's market.
Correct.
You grind up, put them in the digester.
And unfortunately, we're not digesting, we're not absorbing all, even the reusable plastics. We're not even digesting that in the market as of right now. So as another means, put it in the system, let's turn it into oil.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Mayor, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, a few moments ago you asked the question, Mr. Whitemarn, if they had other facilities, and I guess you were referring to the Black Hole or Tesla.
Tesla
You said Pennsylvania and India and other places. So I guess my question is, has Yannis Development Group done any business in the United States?
We have not done business in the United States simply because our platform is not required. When I say our platform, our funding platform, because in the United States, our platform basically is dependent on the funding.
Okay.
because relatively easily attainable here in the United States in terms of funding, not at this magnitude, but definitely at lower numbers, because we were working with a bank to propose a solution for Rutherford County, and they told us their max was $200 million. So therefore, at this magnitude, we had to go a higher and more alternative route.
So Neona's Development Group actually became a corporation on July 26th.
That's correct.
27th of 2018 in Florida. So you've been operational about a year.
Well, let me explain to you why. Like I said, I work as a money manager for over 5 years.
Okay.
And as my company has now grown into the point of project financing, and I've been sought after by, actually I could even show you documentation where I'm working with one South American company and two African nations. I'm sorry, one South American nation and two African nations, to consult with them to get them the funding they wish to need, which is significantly higher than what we're talking about today.
So I would assume all these corporations that you own, Crocker White and
That's correct. White
Insurance,
is insurance agency and also investment advisory firm.
and Financial Media Global.
That's I'm partner of that firm as well.
Okay. I guess you got a senior too.
I'm the senior.
Oh, you're the senior. Okay. 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 That's all questions I have.
So the reason why, just to add more depth, I branched off simply to keep things separated for the sake of the SEC. Let's keep it that way.
Commissioner?
A couple of questions. The ash, is it biodegradable?
Biodegradable? No, it's not.
Okay, so it does have to be disposed of either
correct.
through concrete or some kind of construction
That's correct.
opportunity. Okay.
Or landfill, correct.
Okay, or landfill. The reclaiming of the landfill, are you speaking of the previous landfill, not the present landfill?
I'm speaking of the Rutherford County landfill.
Our landfill is closed.
The
Right, correct.
closed ones,
Correct.
okay. Take us through how reclaiming that would occur.
Well, first and foremost, we'll hire the right construction companies, specifically in Europe. I'm thinking of a few groups right now that currently do landfill mining, is what they call it, and they basically will go ahead and excavate the entire landfill and run all the trash, to include the dirt and everything, through our system. So just basically tearing down the mountain. That's all it is. It has to be done. There is special technology and there's special methods to do it, because of the stability of the instability of these landfills. As you tend to excavate them because they're not very settled, they're not very stable. So therefore, we will definitely require the expertise of others that have done this in Europe.
I'm trying to picture what the odor would be from that process from a community that has experienced it for over 30 years.
Well, Commissioner, my answer to that is, even though the odor may be bad, it may be a little sour, but we're actually doing something to address the bigger picture, which is to ensure that the community is not polluted for your children's children later on. Because even say where the landfill sits is right next to your water supply. And as we know, the liner is very thin. And every landfill at some point in time leaks. You could ask the EPA that. So I wasn't too sure of the history of the Rutherford landfill, but my understanding that it does include a lot of hazardous materials. So I do understand there will be an odor that comes with the job, but at the same time, we're trying to definitely remedy the situation in the long haul.
We've got one more question from Commissioner P.
Actually, a couple, one has to do with what hazardous waste are in that landfill. I've heard there's a possibility that there's PCBs in there from old transformers.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there would be probably lead batteries with acid. Are you saying these type of toxins would be acceptable in this procedure?
Everything besides nuclear. Did that answer your question?
Clear enough, thank you.
All right, seeing no more questions, gentlemen, we thank you so much for your enlightened presentation. I also still have documentation from our previous visit, and the mayor or I will reach out to you shortly and give us time to digest
Great.
what we learned. And is it best to reach out to
Either one of us. Vicky normally
Vicky
contact
reaches out to you?
Yes, sir, yes, sir,
All right.
yes, sir, yes, sir.
We'll call on Vicky then to reach out. So
All right.
we'll be in touch with you.
Appreciate that.
Just give us
Solve the
time.
problem.
Yes.
Because I'm sure we'll come up with some more questions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I know this proposal had a 70-30 partnership.
That's correct.
Before we talked about some different percentages.
We did.
Are you open to different?
We are.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Nolan, thank you very much. Good to see you again. Thank you, sir. See you. All right. Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Guess I need to be longer than I was planned, just to keep y'all here a while. Before I start the report, I talked to Michael Nash today. Michael is and Troy Shanks are the ones that have Southeastern Composting.
Yes.
And they're going to be down here shortly to do some maintenance. But once he gets things up and running again, he's going to try to set up with some different dates for us to plan a tour.
Okay.
And that's the compost facility on Picker Grove.
All right, let me ask you a question. We do not have a regular Public Works and Planning meeting scheduled in July. Our next regular meeting is in early August. Do you think it's possible sometime in July we could have a field trip?
I was specifically mentioning Commissioner Piercy because he hauls around a bunch of children in the mornings and afternoons.
He told me to take you on the bus.
How about that?
No, I wouldn't even think about that, but his window during the school season is pretty narrow.
Yes.
So during the summer, his window, I would think, is a little bit broader anyway.
Okay. All right.
Is that a fair statement?
I got the same wife in the summertime I have in the
Well,
winter.
that's true. but they're interested in giving us a tour and showing us what they do, and they're looking at expanding. Currently, because I asked them quite a few questions. When they first started, they were taking food waste from Opryland. And now they have a contract with the town of Smyrna to take care of their sewer sludge, and then they have the tree service people bringing the ground up wood waste. So they're not taking but very little food waste right now. He said there's one truck comes in with about 16 trash cans, once a week or something. And he didn't even say where that was coming from.
Okay.
But they can do that, but they've committed to the town of Smyrna, so they're going to make sure that happens.
Okay. All right. Would you mind checking to see if sometime in July they would be available for us? All right. I'm also in contact with Michael Webb at Waste Away, and he is happy to host us as well. And you and I will chat and see how we can get a field trip or something out there.
Okay. I was hoping that most of the Public Works Committee could attend the tour. I'm sure depending on dates, it's hard to get everybody on the same day that can, but we'll try to get that set up.
Right.
And then the Waste Away, Mike Webb can set that up. We'll have to give him some dates that might be available.
Let's you and I chat tomorrow or something and look at the calendar. All right.
Of course, our landfill is only taking brush and tires, and it's not extremely busy. So you can see there that we got a little revenue coming in, but not near what we used to have. We are open on the third Saturday of each month from May through October. But with us being open on the third Saturday of each month means we're closed the Monday previous to that. So we're still just working that 40-hour week. The recycle convenience centers have been extremely busy. We've had a population increase coming for quite some time. We're still getting a lot of new residents. Somebody made the number, was it 23 people a day?
Chamber.
Okay. So we're feeling a little bit of that. We're shorthanded. You smash it again twice this weekend. Had them come in on Saturday morning. There was several loads I knew we were not going to be able to haul, and so I had him smash some loads in those centers where we didn't even have to send any trucks. And then yesterday he smashed 23 loads for us. And what that does for us is it densifies those loads. It creates some space So being short-handed, we can still haul enough trash to keep the centers open. And then I haven't taken the calls from the centers yet this evening, but I'm fairly confident that those 23 containers are filled back up by now. But it gave us time to do, and it's working real well for us.
All right. Any questions for Mac?
Are we getting any closer to enlarging any of the convenient recycle centers or restructuring them to try to pull some of this traffic in off the highways?
Of course, we're working with Leanna. We're planning and engineering has those drawings that they haven't approved yet. And once they get those approved, then we'll go through the permit process, to get all the proper permits and then start construction on that. I'm really hoping we'll get that one built this year. I'd like to get it done before winter anyway. But it's taking a lot of time. And then, of course, Rockvale is on the horizon to do the same thing there. All the roll-off equipment has already been purchased for Leanna. And all the roll-off equipment has been ordered. Most of it has been received, not all of it, for Rockvale. And we did not order new compactors for Rockvale. We're going to rebuild some old ones for that one. So I doubt Rockvale gets done this year. And it's really going to be a struggle to enlarge them because we're short-handed on that side as well. We should have 42 employees there, and I think we've got 36. So everybody's working a lot of overtime.
All right. That conclude your reports, or you still have none?
No, I've got a budget amendment, but I'm glad to answer any questions you may have.
If no further questions, we need to have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Let's go on to your budget request.
What we're asking to do is move $15,000 out of the clerical line item for the convenience center budget. That's Hannah Bleem, our public media specialist, was in that line item. She's only worked one day out of the whole budget year. Now, Kathy is also in there, and Kathy's retiring as of June 30. So we've hired her replacement as Tanya Herman and training her. She's doing quite well. So there's funding in that line item that we can move and put into the truck driver's overtime line item. It's $15,000. The reason we're looking at a lot of overtime this month of June, is we've got one driver that's out on injury, got another one that's been missing a lot that's going to get ready to happen to him as well. I have one driver that on June the 20th becomes the Cheatham County Solid Waste Director. And then so his last day is the 15th. And also on the 15th, they've got a driver leaving us and going to work for J&J Disposal in Nashville to drive a roll-off truck. And he told me he's going to get $2.50 an hour more and not have to work weekends.
Okay, well, we hate to lose those people.
Is this people not in our pay raise that we're promoting?
Yes, sir.
They are in.
I don't know if Matt can talk them into staying till 27th and 2 more weeks or not. I'm not sure about Saturday either.
Well, that's part of it. I've talked to quite a few people that are, because of the benefits. The county offers really good benefits. And my selling point when we're interviewing a driver, we're the only employer in Rutherford County that when you start, you're going to earn 36 paid days off in your first year. You earn 8 hours annual, 8 hours of sick, and we have 12 holidays. We don't take the holidays.
That's pretty sweet. I mean, if you're talking about to the private sector, also Rutherford County, you're allowed to carry over. Most of your major private sector corporations have eliminated that. You can't carry over days. That's gone. And that's sweet also.
I've been with the county, it'll be 11 years in July. And
How many years you got? 3 years? You could retire and still get paid?
I looked at it last week, I think it's 2,800 hours. Now, what happens with the county, once you get 500 hours of vacation, they'll roll that the next year into sick. You don't lose it, it just moves into sick pay. So And of course, we went on the gamut. We've got some drivers. Well, I've got one of my oldest drivers, or the most senior driver, put it that way. He's only got 2 weeks of total time, but he's the one that's been out quite often, getting ready to look at possibly some back surgery, but it's not on the job injury related.
All right, we would need if you have any questions for Mac's budget request, we need to have a motion in a second.
Second.
All right, we'll need a roll. Any objection? All those in favor?
We need roll.
Okay, yeah, roll call, sorry.
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Kush?
Yes. What else you got, Mac?
That's it, unless you have any other questions.
Okay.
Are you specifically asking about Las Casas, or is that not one of you?
Well, you had that one too, yep.
Las Casas, if you remember, and some of you may not know, we used to lease that piece of property and we bought it, and the property extends all the way to West Bradley Creek. So we own all the way back to Bradley Creek. So that piece of property is a little more than 3 times of what we currently use. If we extend it there, we can't go any wider. We're as wide as we can be. But if you look behind where the center is actually located, there's actually a paved parking lot back there.
With a fence around it.
Right, and so when we had to fence it off when we bought it, we went and put fencing back there. And the intent would be to use that paved parking lot as the area that cars would drive. The gravel area right behind it would be where the open top containers would be. And then the current back fence would have a gate put in it to where all your recycle containers and your trash compactor would be in the original section, your open top containers in the back. You'd have to hire another attendant to work there as well. But on Sundays, when we don't take open top trash, you just close that gate.
I could fix that in about an hour.
Open the back up.
I could take the fence out and push the boxes back in an hour's time. Won't take long at all. You just tell me when you want to do it.
We haven't looked very hard at doing that, but that's the intent of the property.
So you can fix it? I can fix it, yeah. I've looked at it several times.
All right. Thank you, Mac. We have, you may stay if you'd like. We have one more item under solid waste, and that will be a presentation by Commissioner Craig Harris. Approximately 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, I assigned 4 commissioners a topic to research as it related to solid waste. And you might wonder why Craig Harris got one, as he is not on the Public Works Committee. But Commissioner Harris did attend the California trip that was done earlier this year, and has great interest in the solid waste future for Rutherford County, and volunteered to certainly to stay close to this committee and do a report for us. Mr. Blair has one upcoming, Mr. Piercy has one upcoming, and so does Phil Dodd on 3 other different topics as it relates to solid waste. But Commissioner Harris was first one to complete his, and his is on composting. And so I'm going to turn the floor over to Commissioner Harris to present his report to the committee and to the general public, so we can get a, I said general public, slip of the tongue, so we can get a better understanding on the different technologies that are available.
I've got one, thank you, sir.
Well, it took me back to my college days when we were doing the term paper. So,
yes, indeed.
And I want to thank Vicki for making it look really good and giving me a cover sheet with my name on it. So,
right,
gentlemen, what it is Commissioner Cush asked me to do something on composting. What I did, and I'll try to go through this. I tried to break it down for you, and I looked at 2 companies. I didn't get her feedback on a third. but I looked at Sevierville and Republic. And the first part of the report is just simply telling you what is composting, definition of it, the materials that we can use, the quality. I know Commissioner Piercy's well educated in this as far as what we need as far as quality, and then the 4 basic ingredients: nitrogen, carbon, water, and air. And so this is really for y'all to understand what it is. I'm not going to go into big detail because it's something that you can study on. One of the companies that I looked at was Republic and some of their technology. And what Republic is doing is a turned windrow. And this is for large volumes of feedstock. It will yield significant amount of compost and based on volume. It may be subject to regulatory enforcement. This type of compost involves placing the waste in rolls of long piles called windrows and aerating them periodically by mechanically turning the piles. The ideal pile height is between 4 and 8 feet with a width of 14 to 16 feet. This pile size is large enough to generate enough heat to maintain temperatures, yet it is small enough to allow oxygen flow to the window's core. Large volumes of diverse waste such as yard trimmings, grease, liquids, annual byproducts like fish and poultry waste can be composted through this method. Now, I put pictures over here on the back, in the back of it, so that you can see what they have as far as how their setup is and the machine that they use to turn it. Let's see, it'll be right after page 9. Now, here's some things to consider about this, and I went into their operation. I went into what the positives and the negatives on it, so you can go over that as well. Things to consider: windrow composting often requires large tracts of land, sturdy equipment, a continual supply of labor to maintain and operate the facility, as well as patience to experiment in various material mixtures and turning frequency based on feedstock and environment. Windrow composting can work in cold climates. Often the outside of the pile might freeze, but the core can reach 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Another thing to consider is how close are the nearest neighbors. Windrow composting can generate odor when piles are turned. The facility should consider a mechanism for informing neighbors of the operation and when piles are scheduled to be turned. Windrow composting can take longer to produce a final product than other options such as aerated static pile composting. And then I went into that. Now, aerated style pile composting is, this produces compost quickly within 2 to 3 months on a smaller footprint. It is suitable for relatively homogeneous mix of organic waste and works well for larger quantity generators of yard trimmings and composable municipal solid waste such as food scraps and paper products. An aerated static pile composting organic waste is mixed in a large pile. To aerate this pile, layers of loosely packed bulking agents such as wood chips and shredded newspaper are added so that air can pass through the bottom to the top of the pile. The piles also can be placed over a network of pipes that deliver air into or draw air out of the pile. Air blowers might be activated by a timer or temperature sensor. Now, gentlemen, I know we got to study this, and I just want to go through, a little bit about it. This goes in detail about their techniques on both of them. And then also on page 7, I just simply let you know volume versus value. What we can do with the large volumes of compost, and of course value, which we could sell. I also have in here bulk versus bagged, and then possible end markets. Depending upon the material and the type and quality, end markets in Middle Tennessee would be agriculture, landscaping, and stormwater control. Now, here are the challenges that I have on odor. The number one operational challenge that threatens compost facilities is odor. Facilities that compost food, waste, and biosolids typically experience more odor than green waste-only facilities. Due to the encroachment of residential and commercial properties, all sites need to explore a strategy for odor. Fires. are an increasing problem at compost sites. Handling green material, wood, lumber, and other materials, we can reduce that with just better facility management. Contamination, emissions, viable end markets, and regulation. Those are the problems that we faced with composting. This is the numbers that I got from Republic. And on page 9, where I have the different types of compost facilities, window composting, positive variation with biofilter cover, negative variation to biofilter, positive variation with covers, in vessel or fully enclosed, which all these go from least expensive to the most expensive. According to the numbers that I got from Republic, that if we do a positively aerated static pile with biofilter, it would cost $3 to $4 million to install and $50 per ton for operations, which is around $35,000 a day. If we went to positively aerated static pile with gore cover, which is the optimal odor abatement, $7 to $8 million to install and $50 per ton for operations. Facility locations considerations. This will take around 20 to 25 acres of land. The predominant wind direction throughout the year we should take in consideration is from the south, and the closest neighbor to the facility is approximately 1,350 feet to the north when we're looking at land. And I put pictures on here of every one of their techniques. So you can see that and see the final product.
Wait. Did I understand you right? They cost $35,000 per day to operate?
Yes, sir. You heard me correct.
Carry on.
The next one on page 10 is Sevierville, which we went to look at. And the main process that they use is called Bedminster commingled composting. This is a system of digesters that are loaded with municipal solid waste with recyclable materials separated after the process is completed. A mix of the waste is located into central digesters that solely rotate continuously for 24 hours a day. After the materials travel the length of the digester, they are sent through the next step of the process where materials are screened to remove recyclables. The remaining compost output is placed in windrows, and turned on a regular basis. This process usually takes 40 days, and the final product can be screened and tested for quality to determine end markets. I went through this, is pretty much going through the same thing as far as pages 11 and 12. I put pictures on here for you for their operation. And then, of course, the last thing is that I want to go over with you. Hold on, let me go back and get to you the cost for Sevierville, which will be on page 12. Based on them, with the Bedminster commingled compost, it will cost $30 million to install digesters. This is for 700 tons per day, with an added $2.5 million to build a recycling system at the back end. And we're looking at, I put on here $22.50, but we're looking at an operation cost of around $30 a ton. That's if the materials are delivered to a Class 3 landfill. Now, he's also saying that if we could clean up their compost, if we put a $2.5 million recycling in front of it, so we'd have one in front, one in compost in the middle, and then recycle in the back.
So his suggestion was you have one on the front and on the back?
He said if you want a better quality. Yeah. The thing about Sevierville is that their compost is mostly contaminated because they're taking in everything. So the resale of that is not going to be as good as Republic. Theirs is cleaner, but he feels that we could have a better quality compost if we put a recycling on the front end and the back end. And then, of course, after that, I got y'all some articles in here that you can read up on both of these facilities and kind of answer, kind of tell you a little bit more on all that. Now, what I really want you to look at, try to make me look like I know what I'm talking about, is my personal, and this is my assessment, which is page 13. And this is as a concerned citizen, this is what I come up with.
It's basically right after the pictures.
Yeah, I see it now. Is everybody with me?
Found page 3.
Just keep going, it's right after the pictures.
It's right before.
This guy.
Right before that. Carry on, I'll find it.
This is just the assessment that I made. You know, you can, like I said, this is what I came up with. If we make the decision to proceed with the compost facility, we will have made the first decision towards how we manage our solid waste. Composting is a responsible option as we can effectively manage a large percent of our solid waste stream without buying into a landfill. And what we do, landfill will be considered less than what we do now. Burying less waste in the landfill will save landfill space. Both of these operations, there is going to be landfill waste. I think Sevierville is around 30%, and I'm not sure what Republic is, but I'm sure they're going to be in that same area. We could use the compost in our outgoing construction projects to avoid the cost of soil and other materials that we're currently purchasing. Composting, regardless of the method, does not process everything. Public education to prevent contamination would need to be aggressive, which could and should expect to be expensive. We need a large enough site to provide space for processing and storing the compost product. We need a site that would allow for space to stage large trucks as they wait to enter the facility. A detailed plan for odor control should be our primary consideration. We could increase the percentage of our waste stream that is recycled simply by composting the organics. There are 2 ways to collect revenue to support a compost operation: tip fees and the sale of the final product. If we site a compost facility in our county, the cost of transportation is similar to what we pay now depending on specific locations. A compost facility is an expensive option that does have ongoing operation costs. We have to continually work to find viable markets for compost and ready to make immediate changes as the demand for compost shifts. Seasonal fluctuations, special products, and etc. Gentlemen, like I said, this is, trying to answer your questions on compost, try to give you a couple examples. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them the best I can.
So, I understand that 70% of what's going into the landfill now could be composted?
Well, no, you'd have to have recycling, and compost is part of it. Mac, you could probably answer that question better than I can. No matter if we recycle and compost, we're still looking at 30% waste going into a landfill.
If we had a total solid waste integrated system that could deal with everything we have, we could possibly be 10 to 15% of our waste actually having to be landfill. The rest of it finding a different home. And that would be extremely expensive, but that would be the goal. And to give you an example, last week was last week at schools. Our front loader trash truck was picking up 54 tons a day from the schools all week long. And the recycle truck was picking up 19 to 25. All of it went to landfill because the recycle was contaminated. And that's what happens at the end of school.
Is that mostly paper products?
The recycle was a lot of paper, but they put stuff in bags is what made it contaminated.
How about the 54 tons?
The 54 tons is a little bit of everything. But when they shut down schools, if somebody's retiring or, well, when I went to Smyrna High School, I kept everything that Marvin left for the first year, just didn't know if I needed it or not. And after that first year, what I didn't use, I threw away. So you get a lot of that.
Now, this is just composting. I haven't went to the full what we have to do to get to where you're talking about. This is just simply a composting facility, or compost facility. I'm going by what Sevierville said. He said that they can get between 20 and 30%. But it's mulch, or not mulch, compost is contaminated, so there's not really a whole lot of use for it other than maybe fill dirt, and that's about it.
Soil amendment.
It's kind of an off-the-wall question, but the tornado that came through years ago down Haynes Drive Memorial, do you know how many tons of debris came from that event? Is there any way of guessing?
It was a lot. We had 3,000 tons of nothing but brush that we separated out and put in a pile, and then we hired a company to come grind it and make mulch out of it. We took that 3,000 tons in at $30 a ton, and we paid $17 a ton to have it ground. You know, so it got that out. Then the rest of it, the home building supplies, it was the wood products and mixed with brush we burned, and then the rest of it we actually buried in our landfill. And that tornado took 10 years of life out of the Rutherford County landfill.
That was what I was wondering, what the effect was.
And of course, you know, when you're out there with it all day, every day, and you see the activity, you didn't notice it. The state inspector was coming every 3 days, and TDEC said, y'all need to ask for an emergency expansion, because they could see the dump face moving. When you're out there with it, you just notice it moving, but you didn't realize how far it was moving. So we wound up opening up an emergency dump space right toward the end, and we put quite a bit of waste in it, but it's not lined or anything else. And I asked for an expansion to go on top of it, and now you have to dig that up. So we didn't want to dig it up.
To my knowledge, Sevierville's facility did not handle any construction.
No, their construction went over to the landfill.
They were landfilling that, which looked asinine to me.
No, but we went to California to the Newbie Island, which is a great facility. Landfill, mulch, recycling, C&D, they would grind that up for mulch as well, and the composting. And everybody, you know, around here, well, California's got it right. They were still burying 4,000 tons a day of trash.
Yes. It's not the elimination of landfill.
Right.
And then that presentation, what did they say? Was it 50 tons equals 1 ton of the ash? Was that the formula?
The gentleman earlier,
That earlier presentation.
300 to 1.
300. What would you have a clue what kind of ash would derive from incineration? I'm just for curiosity.
If you do incineration, you wind up with roughly 20%.
Okay.
Would be the ash.
An incinerator would probably cost $750 million.
Our problem with waste to energy, which I love the idea, and I think it can be done in smaller ways, but TVA will buy your power at the hydro rate, which is cheap. You know, Redstone Arsenal has Huntsville Solid Waste right next door, and they generate, Huntsville supplies steam. That's the way to go. But for us to have a big steam user, we really don't have one. Bridgestone in Laverne, I've got a picture in my office that the county actually looked at doing a waste to steam plant in service Bridgestone. Never did it. Now, would you want to look at doing that today? Lord, that building's almost 50 years old now. So how long are they going to stay?
Right.
You know, the regional solution that we're looking for, you know, would like to include waste to energy. Same problem. You need a big steam user instead of electricity user. Those gentlemen that was speaking earlier was talking about making fuel source, you know, oils or biodiesel. I don't know what the value of that would be, but it'd probably be a better income producer than electricity would. You were talking about waste away earlier. You know, waste away process, if you make the fuel pellets and you have large companies that have their own boiler system to where we're providing the fuel for the boiler, they're running their own and generating their own power, then we're not trying to sell anything except fuel. We're not selling the actual power.
correct me.
The other thing that we need to be cautious of when we speak about how much waste. If you ask me how much waste Rutherford County generates, I'll tell you last year it was about 46,000 tons. That's what we handled. City of Murfreesboro handled about 40. So now you're looking at 86 that the governments control. The amount of waste that went into Middle Point from Rutherford County was over 300,000 tons. We don't control any of that. So if we're looking to take care of Rutherford County's trash solution after Middle Point is closed, what are we taking care of? We're taking care of the residents that we service, or we're going to take care of all the businesses too? It's two different numbers.
Thank you, done an excellent job.
I think his children did that.
Yeah, need an A on that, gentleman.
It does get an A. And I hope you see the value, and I encourage you, please read every word of this, because this gives everybody an insight as to all these different technology, the basic fundamentals of how these technologies work. And Commissioner Harris did a fantastic job, and I expect the other three that have volunteered to.
The pressure's on Piercy now.
Barbara's going to do
I'm
the
gonna take
exception.
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Mac, a question.
Yes, sir.
And I may have dreamt this, I may have heard it in passing, and I can't remember, I can't verify this is true, so I'm asking you. I think the company name was PHG?
That's correct.
The one in Wilson County, Lebanon? Where?
Their office was, it's actually in Davidson County, but it's up there in Interchange City. They moved out of there.
What is the facility, the little waste to energy?
In Lebanon has a PHG that's been changed, that's been bought out. Aries is actually moving out, but that's what the city of Lebanon purchased.
Is that shut down?
Yes.
So they could not make a go of it?
If you would let Becky explain it better, I'll mess it up.
Would you,
I love putting her on the spot.
They are. It works that way. They shut down at the end of January, and they are reassessing what the expense is and what the actual processing that the technology is capable of doing. So they've used wood in it. The intent was to use sludge in it from their wastewater treatment plant.
Because it's right next door to their wastewater treatment
That's
plant.
why they put it there.
Yeah.
And then they're also looking at, originally we're looking at tires as well.
Okay.
So they're just reassessing that, but they did shut down at the end of January. It was January 24th, I think.
What type process was that facility?
Gasification.
Down drop gasification.
Okay.
So apparently their expectations were not met. Perhaps. That's just me talking. All right. Anything else we want to chat about before we go to other business in terms of where we are? And we have some public and we have some commissioners in the audience. I think I hope what the audience and the people that are viewing on TV and people that read the papers, I hope what you all are kind of beginning to understand is this is not an easy task, because the technologies, as you've witnessed today, are extreme from one end to the other, from simple biology in decomposition to extreme technology of turning waste into energy. And there is a dollar figure that goes with that, from very small dollars to very large dollars. And we still, this committee, plus the other stakeholders, which are the other city mayors, still have to come to some agreement and vision to determine the scope of where we want to be. Are we just going to handle Rutherford County and the cities? Are we going to go regional? Are we, meaning partnering with other counties? There are so many things to review and to consider, and breakdown as to who's going to be responsible for what, and who's going to pay for what, and how much should the county pay, how much should a small city pay, how much should a bigger city pay. There's just so many things yet to solve. So for those who are wondering why, well, where's the community input? It's coming, but we have to get our hands around the scope first of where we want to be before we can even begin to get community input. I mean, we're doing that. We've had some community input, and we will continue to do that, and that helps. But we've got to figure out where we're going first to what's good. We got to eliminate the technologies that absolutely do not make sense, and then present that to the community and let them choose and guide us. So I'm just asking you all to be patient, and I'm hoping you understand that this is a difficult task, which we all agree should have been started years ago. And thankfully, we've had the right people on board now to jump on it. And we are being very diligent and very thorough in investigation, because we understand the decisions we make this year and next year are for generations to come. And we also understand it's going to come with a price tag. And we're very cognizant of that. So I just want you to know we're all working on it. So, Mac?
The mayor, hope he doesn't get mad at me. The mayor's requested to have a PO position, and the intent of that PO position would help spread this message. The problem that Rutherford City Solid Waste has had and still has is we don't have one single avenue to get that message out. Channel 19, Channel 3, Smyrna, Laverne have those. Not everybody has cable. WGNS radio, a lot of people don't listen to the radio anymore. The D&J and the Post, they'll put stuff in there, people don't read the paper. We can put signs out galore at the centers and people don't read them. The best way to get a person to read a sign, hang it upside down. Actually read it that way. But, you know, and I hope he gets the position, but that position is going to wind up, you know, having to create the messaging, but all of us are going to have to help deliver that message.
Any other business before the committee?
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Is there any way to determine, like say, for some wild, odd instance, Cush recommended to have a user's fee at the convenience center? Is there any way to tell how many times a convenience center is used a day?
We do not have a mechanism to do that. In 2012, TDOT put out the street counters at all of our locations, and they did it December 10, 11, and 12, and it snowed on the 12th. And they only did it for 3 days, so we had to do the average to try to get how many customers we had. Weekly Lane in Smyrna had 3,500 cars a week, is what that number told us. Christiana Phosphor on the south side of the county had 250. Las Casas Center on that weekend had 2,000.
Do you think it would be better for Mr. Cush to recommend a each time fee or per week or month fee?
I think it needs to totally be a user fee. If you use it, you have to each time. And we've had the discussion in the past that, you know, the city of Marshboro has curbside collection. The city of Marshboro's used our centers a lot.
Yeah.
Missed trash days, extra trash when they have families in, things like that. Recycling, they don't have curbside recycling here in town unless you pay for it, and the bulk items. So then you've got some residents like Lisa's aunt. She couldn't even tell you what a convenience center looks like. She's never been to one. She's never needed one. You know, so
Well,
it's a pay-as-you-throw.
I can remember when I first sat on this committee, there was 2 commissioners didn't know what it was, a convenience, because they asked you to meet with them out there and just get a good understanding of how it worked. But, you know, there's rural people out there like
Some of the people live in town, they may not have ever used one. But how are you going to collect that money? That's going to be the biggest struggle. You don't want to collect money at the centers, because we've got locations out in the middle of nowhere. And some of these rednecks realize that, hey, there's cash there. They're going to knock somebody in the head over a couple of $100.
You're talking about your business.
Yeah.
I've never been called that.
But, different mechanisms are different ways. Joey Smith and I have talked about the hanger that you have over your mirror, that's a handicap type thing. You have to go, probably where you buy your license plate, and it would also be punches on it. So it costs you, $150, and it wind up costing you $5 every time you come in the center or something like that. There's other locations that you use a specific trash bag. And you'd have a Rutherford County solid waste trash bag that you'd have to go to one of the stores and purchase, but that's the only thing we would take. If it's not in that bag, we won't take it. The problem with that is, what are you going to do with bulk items? How are you going to identify those? So, there's a lot of different ways to do it. And just trying to figure out which one's going to make it work.
I feel like that's.
I was going to say, with the bag that you purchase, you also would buy a tag with a tag with a little wire deal, and
if you're going to, I thought of tags too.
You wire that on your mirror, and that would do your whole bulk item.
Commissioner Harris would come in with that tag on it, and he'd take that tag off and put it in his pocket when he threw it away. So he didn't buy another.
He would take that tag with your attendant would remove the tag.
Right. It's a lot of different ways, but just everybody having to pay through some kind of tax structure, I don't think is the right way.
Sumner County, I had a friend that lives here in Rutherford County, but for some reason had to make a deposit at a convenience center in Sumner County. And he said he just pulled right up and expected to have a problem, dumping, but nobody said anything to him, except about 5 days later, he had a bill in the mail. They had taken a picture of his license plate, and they had sent him a bill for making that deposit. And I'm not sure if it was because he was Rutherford County or everybody has to pay. Is that something that we find out?
County charges. I don't know about Sumner County. They may.
I believe it was Sumner County though.
But the biggest struggle we have today is the Rutherford County license plates. We have a lot of people that have moved here, and if you go renew that license plate, they're going to give you a new tag. So yeah, you have a Rutherford, you paid for it in Rutherford County, but it doesn't say so. And then the vanity tags don't have that. The commercial tags don't have that either. So trying to identify the public that is supposed to be in there is the toughest thing. And I was talking to a gentleman from Smyrna. He was very unhappy. He had a Coffee County tag on his vehicle, and it was registered in Coffee County because he owns property in Coffee County. He lived in Smyrna 20 years, but he was using that vehicle. Well, he should have had a Rutherford County tag, but he didn't want to hear that. So.
You didn't want to go through emissions.
Probably.
And that's what we were talking about the other night. There's migration of people, and if you double in budget, we were talking about that, and if you double the wheel tax, you'll have, Lisa says, Kroll, you'll have a lot more migration of people going out.
Yeah.
You got 2, 3, 4 cars, and you double the wheel tax, that could be one of the problems, because a lot of people go to Coffee County, Warren County. So,
Got $1 million home and you raise the property tax, you got a problem.
yes, sir. That's right.
All right.
Well, solid waste does not get any property tax.
I think everybody's going to have to pay.
And you can make the same argument for anything that we spend property tax dollars for. But that $1 million home versus a $100,000 home, $1 million home is going to pay 10 times as much. And they probably have a private service that comes picks theirs up anyway. So they're paying for something they absolutely would not use.
Yeah. All right, our next regular scheduled meeting is August 6th. That is because, as you know, budget month is sneaking upon us. But what I would like to do, if possible, Mac and I are going to chat. We're going to try and get a couple of field trips in the month of July, perhaps to Southeast and to Waste Away. to fill that void. In lieu of a regular scheduled meeting, we'll do a couple of field trips in July. So we'll check your emails. We'll see if we can make use of our time, our off time. So other than that, we'll stay close to your emails, and we'll see you August 6th. Thank you, everybody. Meeting adjourned.